We're launching the latest version of our This is Housing First for Youth document that is designed basically to help communities implement a form of housing first that works to meet the needs of developing adolescents and young adults. The new version brings together not just a description of the program model and some high-level discussion of how to do the work, but it actually does a real deep dive. How do you implement this in a community? How is it related to community planning? Operationally, what's needed? What kind of staff do you need? And what is the work that they're going to do? So there's a lot of really useful information here that we haven't had before that will allow people to really apply this intervention in a way that's going to improve outcomes for young people and potentially their families. Since the original Housing First for Youth model guide was launched in 2014, there's been a huge growth of interest in implementing this. In many different countries in Europe, there are Housing First for Youth programs. Across Canada, it's been growing and growing. In the United States, there are examples of this, and now Australia. And so as the interest in the intervention grows, there are challenges. People will implement it in ways that don't align with the core values of the Housing First for Youth model. They might have really high caseloads. They might have just taken the adult model and change the age mandate. And so a key reason for providing more and more good information is to help communities implement this in a way that's true to the program model, so that it will produce the best possible outcomes for young people. We need fidelity to the model. And so the more information communities have in their hands about how to do that, the better the program delivery will be.
This document has evolved over the last couple of years. And what's so exciting about it is that we've had the opportunity to listen to young people across our country. We have heard what they've said about their experience within a Housing First for Youth model, what we were getting right, what we weren't. We've also had the opportunity to hear from staff from all different programs and organizations to talk about what it's like to work within a Housing First for Youth model and what their experiences has been like. When we were listening to those young people share their experiences with us, they also shared that staff needed more training, more understanding of what youth wanted and what they needed. And so we were able to capture that within this document and bring it to life for all frontline staff, for leaders and organizations who want to implement a Housing First for Youth model or more align their housing programs with the Housing First for Youth core principles. The work is not always easy. And in order to do this work, and in order to show up in the right way, you need somebody that is going to come along with you. And if you don't always have a thinking partner, or if you don't always have somebody that's sitting right beside you, you can always rely on this guide. Working through this manual section by section with teams in sort of a reflective practice kind of way can really help to understand how your partners and how other folks on your teams are thinking about the work, some of the barriers that they're coming up against, and how you can move forward together in the best interest of young people. We've seen that lots of people, when they get stuck, they refer to the operations manual. They're able to refer back to the core principles, because what we know is the core principles lead our work, because the core principles, as youth have told us, are the right principles for them at this time. And so being able to use those tools in those ways is absolutely beneficial. What we do know is we don't always have control over internal and external barriers, but what we can do is always show up for young people. And so one of the big things that we talk about here is always challenging our assumptions. What's stopping us from implementing Housing First for Youth? What are the right ways to show up for young people? And how can we do that, not only as a staff team, but as an organization?
I think it's a very useful resource for anybody who's interested in supporting communities to prevent and end youth homelessness. Whether it's a government or a philanthropic funder, they should really be backing the approaches for which there is the best evidence base, and also in dealing with young people, the ones that are designed for young people. and developing adolescents and young adults. And so the Housing First for Youth model is very useful to ensure that the resources going into communities are going to the right things. And we want the best outcomes for people. So it's important that funders understand the difference. There's competing ideas in communities where people will come in and say, just do Housing First for everybody. You don't have to have a specialized version for youth. That's not actually true or helpful. So this kind of operations manual, the real advantage for people planning or policymakers is it really helps you understand why you need a different approach for Housing First when you're dealing with young people. It lays it out so we don't get confused in communities. So that's really important. And when community planning is occurring in Canada, communities need to really understand what tools they have in their toolbox. And so it's a very useful tool. It addresses many things that are of importance to people in government, to leaders in communities, and to the organizations that are going to be delivering the intervention. So we know that Housing First for Youth works, and the keys to how to do it well are contained in this document. So there's going to be differences in different countries. In Canada, Away Home Canada has a strong training and technical assistance arm, and they lead the work around Housing First for Youth in partnership with the Observatory and Making the Shift Youth Homelessness Social Innovation Lab. In Europe, there's training and technical assistance available through the Housing First Europe Hub and Fianza. And so in both contexts, there's real growth and interest in this. If you want to find out more, go to the Homeless Hub. We constantly are updating materials and producing new materials. Soon we'll be releasing more information about how to do Indigenous-led versions of Housing First for Youth. All of our resources that show up on the Homeless Hub are free to download. And the last resource, I would say, is just contact us and we'll help point you in the right direction.